Saying you are a movement means nothing until it acts as and has all the aspects that make up a movement. We are able to study how movements have grown to be effective in the world, and we must question why. Usually, there were always underlying ideas behind these movements, and these ideas were not only relatable, but relevant to the times that be. They applied to great numbers within a population for which numbers are required for any movement to actually be considered a movement, a collective individual action. If we were to understand Gandhi's movement, for example, or even the Flat Earth movement and why these movements have been succeeding in their simple impact, perhaps we are to then know more of the required actions and effective strategies toward creating the change we want to see in the world. But if it first starts with an idea, the question we must first ask is, what idea? Being that most people want to see change in the world, it would make sense to determine the why behind such desires. What is it exactly that people want? If we are to determine this, we must ask why people do the things that they currently do, why people say the things they currently say, why others take it out on others, and why the world is in the state that it is. This is our why question, and this helps us understand what may be called the base desire, what we all share and need for our prosperous or optimal existence and prevalence. What we observe time and time again, as also shown through the cycles of history, is the striving for freedom, whether it's by an individual seeking it in their own life, using others for their own freedom, or an individual seeking a free world for all, educating everyone about this better world. And we must then question, what is freedom? And that answer is the state of nature, a given state of the all-surrounding world, a self-evident truth that we are already free, and the only restraints are that which we place upon ourselves. Hence, our cycles and struggles through history to try to free us from these restraints we see failing us time and time again, hoping and promising and giving hope for true freedom, but never truly providing. Hence we come to terms with the idea that true freedom is all around us and simply must be embraced through harmonization of our actions to natural law and education of such importance for imagination, conscience, learning, fun, and happiness. And certainly, this too is the end goal in an individual's health. Folks want to live happily and peacefully. Now that we have this idea, how do we bring that to the world? And why is it an effective idea? We are to create a movement that people can be a part of, have understanding of, without having too much understanding of it, and a simple message to encapsulate that freedom by its source. We are going to call this nature is the answer. And it is effective because it's as rooted and grounded as any movement, as message, as mission can get to help spread the ideas that will educate and ultimately free the world, which comes to terms of understanding and application with such ideas. But if it's to help us achieve fun, imagination, creativity, health, and so forth, perhaps we need to show that to the world in order to walk the talk or be the change in a sense, to practice what we preach, giving truth to evidence, giving experience to awareness. So let's take the idea, the movement guided by it, and start applying the effective techniques that will bring it to a greater light, greater voice of amplification, greater impact. We must start with a logo, a symbol of significance, to simply stride as of interest to the public eye, as difference compared to other movements, but of similarity in public mindset for greater appeal. Folks know nature is at risk, whether by medicine, by law, by rights, by social ability, by living, by connection, by survival, by environment, and so forth. It is a powerful general idea that folks are able to resonate to in their own ways, in some way existent, which many may feel greatly passionate about, especially having knowledge behind why this is and what the world could be if we worked with and respected nature. So let's make the logo encapsulate just that, the reality to the situation. We want nature. Let's have a simple tree, perhaps, maybe with water, grass, a sun. Let's make it how most people would imagine nature, but put it all in one and have it unique, to where it can be inspiring and perhaps even motivate others to make their own logos based on it, with the same message in all, that being perhaps nature is the answer itself. We can enhance this by making the symbol not only a symbol, but the letters of the movement if we look close enough, N-I-T-A. Let's then color it accordingly, not to be counterintuitive for what it represents, as grounded as it is, hence a blank slate of creativity, a sense of wholeness, unity, all colors and clarity can be encapsulated by the white background, and it will leave the natural colors within to portray more impactfully as the symbol on its own. Here we have nature as the open spotlight. For the sake of the modern world, perhaps we will add a website or include this flag in technological places to help share the cause and the situational greater appeal. We may notice that Gandhi had a flag, and even the Flat Earth movement has a logo, which can be understood directly proportionally to its message and has great curiosity for those seeking to be a part of some energetic change. Better yet, we can add more meaning to this flag by words of association, such as, quote, it stands for itself and you stand on behalf of it to show you stand up for yourself, or, quote, representation of demonstration, or, quote, Egyptian Netcher is a flag-looking symbol and it means nature. We represent nature. Or any other ways to feel a greater connection to this simple foremost action. Next, we must immediately make the connection between the logo and the idea, so to introduce education and awareness of these two being existent. The first note on education: while the idea is simple and to the point, the idea and its deliverers must intrigue an individual into learning more for themselves, seeking their own involvement some way somehow. Not only is Gandhi's movement relatable due to the similar oppressing more obvious conditions, it is based on knowledge of freedom, wisdom much appraised by the leading guide known as Gandhi, and others, to where folks look up to not only the better day, but this knowledge seeing its power to be in their hands, their independence from the occult. The Flat Earth movement is often relatable to those who have sought its material due to the fact it's based on daily, simple, common sense perspective, as often said by its own members, for which is why they have their attachment to this, and hence from there all questions of the mainstream narrative. It's based entirely on education, which makes it effective, as one must do research to come by this perspective and then be able to stand up for it to a degree which they'll have greater connection to because they're doing their own research of it. Having knowledge others may not have, or knowledge that you may see as impactful, is a big plus to those who live in a world of general distress. Therefore, the education will be exactly for what the idea and logo was. If it's a flat earth, it's a flat earth and aspects within. If it's India's independence, it's India's independence and aspects within. If it's nature and aspects within. The within creates the rabbit hole, the hole of which folks may find themselves traveling through in an adventure they want and like to be a part of. However, the education is incomplete if alone. It goes into not nearly the impact it can make without creativity and the other supporting factors that follow. As a movement must have the structure to have that of a tapestry, related to the knowledge it is to represent, shall it be truly impactful and everlasting. In particular, for Nature is the Answer, we are looking at the internal knowledge being natural law, natural health, and natural rights. We have already established our simple message as like the other successful movements that have existed, but if we can also establish associated terms or definitions, it will come of correlation when one mentions the main message. So for example, when one thinks of Nature is the Answer, they may think of humanity, truth, unity, the knowledge, self-defense, and freedom, however, also sharing nonviolence. You may see these very same aspects associated with Gandhi's movement that helped it become what it is. The Flat Earth movement is nothing but knowledge, hence promoting aspects of freedom and certainly nonviolence. Is this really what helped the movements become successful? No, not just successful, but successful through time, yes, as again, because this is often the base desire, inevitable to the rise in tyranny and deception. People want to find the truth, they want to be a part of it when they do find it. So, just as there are ideas within ideas, there must be internal movements inside the movement, and thus some big events and occurrences done by these internal groups may help raise the movement to public awareness. What we see within the Flat Earth movement, a modern-day movement upheld all throughout the world, is people making their own organizations within, but staying true to the one banner of quote-unquote Flat Earth. Thus, there is a unifying message among each's own works. Surely, when Gandhi had his movement, many folks had priorities related or similar to the goals at hand. Hence, they had internal workings within the movement helping to promote the cause in subtle yet powerful ways. Gandhi being a leading guide of his movement, there surely were others, however the emphasis on him alone may have been more of a mistake for the sake of the ideas being the focus, not embracing any ego and keeping an impact thereafter his lifetime. It is ultimately up to those in this movement of ours to start their own communities in their local communities for the greater message of truth. The movement of nature is the answer. Some will look into more into others, and some will be more vocal than others. Guides naturally come to show. The Flat Earth movement sort of operates with multiple leading guides as such, making it more impactful in different ways. With a great emphasis on simply the ideas, with many folks encouraged to publish their own works, experiments, or findings on the subject. The effort alone is very telling for folks to spend years worth of their time dedicated to something they truly care about. So the question must be asked, what do you care about? What will help you care more if you choose to do? Like, if you want to exercise, what will motivate you? So we ask, what will help you get going? This all ties back to the still ever important idea of creativity, whether it's events, projects, music, art, speaking, memes. It's all forms of creativity, necessary, encouraged, and required for a successful movement. Numbers are required for a movement, as said previously, and what changes the world ultimately is social and cultural change. Both of these roots are creativity and personal attraction from such, as humans are born creators. It is in our nature to ultimately express in some way, somehow. What we see with the modern, widely known Flat Earth movement is their abundance of works, both online and real life, and a number of creative works of all kinds, including music and memes, hitting the nail for appealing to the modern age. Since it is a base desire for humans to seek freedom, their nature of questioning authority and returning to nature, or our more nature-attached ancestors, may appeal to folks even moreover. What Nature's the Answer must hold is these very same aspects, questioning authority, abundant personally created creative works, and taking both real life and online action. Gandhi's movement is a great example of this, except of course without the presence of technology. Hence, even more reason why sharing a message should be even easier nowadays, or as ironically harder, especially with censorship and social degradation. We choose the path and mindset, for great distress can call great solutions but require great people. As spoken of in another video, there are three main components that make up a successful movement in summing up the 6-step speculation. It is representation, education, and networking. Thereafter, the main structure has been set. What we see with Gandhi's movement, it networked all throughout India as it was the set target, despite it could have been being able to spread even further to promote the same aspects of, non-violence, etc. However, again, his movement wasn't so eternal in its blueprint, and it did not constitute the room for growth that Nature is the Answer has. Flat Earth has greatly networked all worldwide and has continued through all the many generations, with folks taking pictures with one another, creating presence in the media as much as possible, and so forth. Representation is common with both the Gandhi and the Flat Earth movement, but of course, again, Flat Earth is not limited to a certain set goal or time set. People are not only connected to the logo and information, but the information inside the logo with their own eyes, appealing to human nature. Education, as previously described, help wrap up the ideas and carry them on. Now, if we were to look at the 6-step speculation, the first step is representation, and we may say the Flat Earth logo, based on maps, was the first adaptation indeed, to then raising presence almost everywhere with powerful information targeted on specifically the Flat Earth, which is step 2. Then, creating a large amount of voice, which may include ridicule, which step 3, where folks start really coming together based on what is presented and represented. Step 4, folks will naturally ask of the solutions offered by this movement and what comes of this knowledge. Hence, many will speak up and some will cause controversy, but it's all in the means of the process. Step 5, deep education of the subject will shine above all else, as it holds more sustenance and less counter-opposition is present. However, true information will shine simply more over time, as now reasoning and understanding takes place. Prominent leading guides may have greater presence here. From here, step 6, generational ideas as such, if it is in the blueprint of the movement, will be upheld through even longer periods of time. All the other steps will still apply, and so the movement will likely only grow, just at different speeds, at sometimes more than others. Step 6 is heavily dependent on if there is still creative works being put up in the public show. About counter-opposition, movements that are based in compromising institutions or bringing truths to the public will have this created at the expense, which means folks will be trying to infiltrate and make the movement look bad, purposely staging certain occurrences and doing everything in their power to shut down the growth and progression of the movement. But if we, stay true to the cause, and again, allowing the truth to shine by itself, it is the best you can do. But you must still be putting out the creative works. You cannot be alone, and you got to keep the truth out and about. Movements are not to have extreme amounts of structure and hierarchy, as it would be counterintuitive and it would actually end up causing more problems than good. So the movement of Nature is the Answer is set up to perfectly follow this 6-step speculation, the 3 main factors of any successful movement if implemented by the individual people who make up the movement, and it is set up as to not have too much structure, enough so that education, inspiration, to guide folks who learn the most from this. It is what truly leads the way, as natural as change can be. When we understand that this is the requirement for a successful movement, we must simply follow through with what may be called the natural way to change the world, or nature's call. The message as mission that has been calling humanity for all of time. Nature is the Answer is unique, irreplaceable, and invincible. The only requirement left is you. Creativity depends on you. Each of the 6-step speculation steps all flow into one another naturally for a natural change to take place, and it is essentially looking at the macrocosmic of the microcosmic change demonstrated by Mark Passio's slide on how our reality is built. What determines if a movement will make a greater impact is if there is greater grounding in the ideas the movement holds. So, despite comparing to other movements, nothing is more grounded than nature, and the aspects within such as natural law, for which the truths will show themselves in long-term time, but trust must be given in the short-term process due to the current state of the denatured world, transitioning out of it with how much power egos will seek to hold on to their power by all costs. And so we must fight as defend for truth, a true war for truth. All we are to do anyways is defend, as teaching the innate is defending. For the answers are all around us in nature, evidently, although power systems may tell you otherwise. So just remember where your freedom comes from, nature and natural law. Again, what will make nature's answer more impactful than these rather successful movements because they got their ideas out there? It is the grounded ideas, the need for many leading guides of inspiration where you are as one of them in a generational, everlasting message as mission. Life is about having fun, so do make it fun. Make it a journey to defeat manifested human enslavement. That you will tell your grandchildren about and holding true, defending the values of nature. So please represent. We must thus represent, present, and demonstrate. Nita.one/share. That's nita.one/share. Everyone knows the power of nature, their innate connection to nature, the need for it in the modern world, and nobody knows of natural law. Folks are losing connection with natural medicine. Folks don't even know their natural rights. The time comes of need, times relevant more than others, always here, always true to be, as for who we are to be. Nature is the answer.